11. Day 11 is an 11-2, which equates back to being aware of the duality, how we swing from the yin to yang, and also it's to do with our relationship with people, how we interact with people. So on day 10, we've realised we're starting a new cycle, that we've decided to leave the past where it is. We've understood that it's futile to take the past forward. So we acknowledge the pain, we acknowledge the growth and the learning, and then we make a conscious intent, or we set a conscious intention for this next cycle. And so that takes focus, being aware of when you might slide back. So when the old stuff starts to come up, being accepting it, realizing it's it's still healing, it's still moving through, but choosing whether to stay there or not, choosing to use the focus and come back to the here and now. So constantly coming out of the past into the here and now, recognizing that what's been is been, what's done is done, that pain is pain, hurt is hurt, but ultimately we don't want to stay in pain and hurt. So it takes more awareness, it takes a bit of effort, really. It takes a bit of understanding that will ebb and flow between one and the other. So sometimes we'll slide back into past thinking or into the arena of hurt and pain, and we tend to then relive the memories of it, the experience of it. And so if we've got good memories, fine, that's a nice energy. It's when we're reliving old experiences and when we're trying to role play something that's been and done in a different way, because that's impossible when the mind goes back to an event, a situation, and then we role play different ways in which we could have done that. It's absolutely not going to change a thing. And so we become aware of when we start to do that, and then bring ourselves back to the here and now. And that's a process, and that's not necessarily easy. And it's okay if you find yourself slipping back and being in the energy of the thing that's happened, or the mind is wanting to understand it. The mind is it's a cheeky monkey for wanting to understand what's been and done, to figure it out, but a waste of energy, a waste of time, because it's this present moment that makes the change. It's this present moment where we get to do things differently, and we get to direct the mind. So the mind is a brilliant tool and amazing for dealing with the practicalities of life. And so we want to be in control of the mind. We want to be able to use the mind to focus on the here and now. So when we did standing like a tree, that's one powerful Qigong exercise to start being aware of when the mind has gone back and to bring it back to the present. Another tool that I used many years ago, when I used to have panic attacks, I used to have anxiety attacks, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night with just this horrible energy, and not just in the middle of the night. Sometimes I'd just get a flood of anxiety, and I'd have a fear of fainting. I'd be scared that I was going to faint. So I'd be out with my young girls, they were babies then, and then the mind would say, oh, what if you faint? I feel a bit funny. And then the picture it would paint of, oh gosh, if I collapse now and faint, what will happen to my children? What if somebody, and this is the mind, what if somebody takes them? What if if I let go of the pushchair and we're going downhill? I mean, it would create horrible scenarios. And unfortunately, the mind doesn't say, oh, somebody would come and see to you, somebody would look after a kind person would be there. The mind says, oh no, if you collapse, something horrible will happen. And so at that time of having these panic attacks, I really had to take control of the mind and just breathe, and I suppose, and just trust. So I could write a whole chapter on anxiety and panic attacks, and at the time I did write a lot down. But one of the tools that I used to use, especially if it was through the night, was to go to the window. I would open the window and then I would just name what is. So I would look and I'd say, okay, so the grass is still green, the road is still there is the lamppost, that's the night sky, this is the house that I'm in, this is the garden. And what it did was anchor my energies back into the here and now, because the mind was wanting to run away. And so what I could do is use the mind to name things, name objects, breathe the fresh air and go, yeah, I'm still breathing the fresh air. And this, and I suppose looking out of my window, things were familiar. And so, when, for those that, maybe have anxiety attacks or panic attacks, it's quite scary because there's this feeling of, I suppose, fear and unknown and what if. So for me, what if I faint? For other people it might be a heart, what if I have a heart attack? And so being able to just name what is was very stabilizing for me. And I remember I used to say to my head, I am safe and secure, I'm safe and secure, I'm safe and secure. And I would repeat that over and over. And that was a really helpful tool. I mean, now I understand with the duality that as I was repeating I was safe and secure, it's because I really didn't feel safe and secure at that moment in time. It felt very unsettling. But as I just anchored into the what is, the isness of nature, not people, because everything, they fluctuate, but the grass is always green, the night sky is always indigo, the stars, the stars are there, and then naming the object, the looking at the plants, looking at the driveway, just things that are very static, the things that don't really move and change, that they are there, the sustenance, the soil. So the Qigong exercise that I want to do today is just rotating the joints. It's very simple. And I know when I first started with the energy work, and coming from a Taekwondo background of punching, kicking, and like moving around, and often we think the more energy we use, and the press-ups, the number of press-ups, and the how far we've run, and all, we kind of think that that's more productive, that it's doing more because we can feel it doing something. But actually the subtlety of just breathing and rotating a muscle and balancing and focus is really, really powerful. And I've come to understand that there's great, I mean, I do love the movement, I love the sparring, I love all of it, but I can really see the power in the gentleness, the power in the simplicity, the simplest movement, and doing that with focus and really feeling into it. So